Hi, I'm Philo Brathwaite. I have been throwing the Roc almost since the beginning of my disc golf career. What do I like about the Roc? Pretty much everything. It's probably the best disc ever made in my opinion. Multi-purpose, pretty much Swiss Army knife of disc golf discs. Some examples of some situations or places I might use a Roc are fairway approach shots around 300 feet, anywhere up into 330, 340 feet, maybe a little more, especially things that you need a really small finish or something to hit the ground and stop faster. Usually when you throw a driver, fairway driver, distance driver, those tend to have a longer finish period. Throw it mid-range, you can depend on it slamming on the brakes a lot faster. So I tend to use my mid-range for approach shots, tee shots where I need the disc to stop in a hurry. If you're one of those players who's been reluctant to toss the mid-range, the Roc in particular, into your bag, man, you're really missing out. Such an amazing utility disc. It does so much. It really teaches you a lot about control. We've done some reviews on the Roc before, and that's really the main thing for me, is it's so predictable and so versatile that I don't know how you do without it. It's great for shot shaping any direction. It's very, very predictable on all three swing planes. If you're throwing hyzers, you know it's going to go mostly straight. If you put a flat move on it, you know it's going to catch a long glide. If you put it on anhyzer, you know it's going to continue to turn right. So it's just one of those discs that it should really find a place in your bag, because you're going to come across that distance type of shot pretty much anytime you play. I've been a big fan of the DX Roc pretty much from the jump. There were a number of different styles of Rocs, Super Rocs and classic Rocs, and just all different variations of the true original Roc, but I've always stuck with the original just because of the consistency of flight and really just accessibility to getting them. They're pretty common. You'll find them anywhere. If something happened in tournament and I broke one, or it changed flight patterns all of a sudden, I can go to any retail store and grab a Roc and pretty much expect it to work just as well as a brand new one from anywhere else. So I think that's one of the main reasons why I stuck with this Roc, is just because it's so easy to replace. I don't feel super attached to any one DX Roc. I cycle through these things, I don't know, 15, 20 per year. So there's no fear with the Roc, I suppose. You know, there's no fear like, oh, if I don't keep this one, I'm never gonna find another one. There's a bunch like it, you know, and I can make it work, and I can season them in and feel right away the integrity of the disc, and it's just one of those things, man. I gotta have at least a few in the bag. Such a crucial part of my game. Typically in the bag I carry, I'd say, anywhere from 4 to 6, sometimes 7 or 8 Rocs, depending on where I'm playing. Yeah, I like to have things, you know, I try to keep my swing pretty repetitive and simple, and just kind of change my body pitches and let the disc do the work. So if I'm playing a shorter course where there's a lot of mid-ranges and a lot of things that are turning, I'll probably have 5 or 6 different Rocs in the bag. Maybe a couple more if I want, you know, a couple backups or something. Just depends on the course always. Favorite version of an overstable Roc, I'd probably have to say Roc X3, Champion Roc X3. Pretty beefy. I like the feel. It's pretty flat with just a little bit of dome, not too domey, not too concaved. It's got a really nice profile, good stiffness to the rim. You know, when you rip over on that thing, it's just gonna it's like a slower Firebird, basically. That's kind of my analogy for it. Very overstable. We'll get a little bit of a glide, but not much, and I think that's great for windy situations. That's typically when I would use my Roc X3 or a Champion Roc. Anything that's the next level up from this would be a windy situation. Straightest Roc is always going to be a worked-in DX Roc. After a month or two of throwing a brand new freshie, it's going to start losing that stable edge. It's going to start standing up a little bit out the hand on hyzer, and I know how to manipulate that all day long. It's, you know, put a straight move on it and let the disc do a little taper, you know, or hold a straight line depending on how broken in it is. After a while, it gets pretty easy to figure out what it likes to do. The flight pattern gets pretty consistent, and then it's just a matter of rinse and repeat. The Roc's superpower, I'd have to say, is consistency. I think that's the one thing that you can pretty much depend on when you have a trusty mid-range disc, is to have a consistent straight fairway finder, especially in circumstances where you're nervous to throw a fairway driver, the fairway is really pinching down and you just need to play for placement. I think that's something you can really depend on, is a consistent flight and a consistent reaction out of the hand. Well, I've been pretty successful over in Thailand over the years, and the longest hole on that course is 430 feet or something. So the majority of the shots are rock shots. You know, there's a lot of rock shots out there, and same as for a lot of my wins here in Southern California. There's a lot of fairway finding holes, you know, just 320-foot shots, fairway golf, and take a lot of the guesswork out of it by throwing a rock instead of a driver, and take a lot of the skips out of play, take a lot of the finish out of play, and keep things pretty much straight up and down on the line the whole way. A lot of ace runs that way too. Oh man, I've aced a bunch of times with a rock. I've probably got at least 100 rock aces, probably. It's definitely the disc I've aced the most with, because it's a no-brainer going 6 to 12 on the tee pad with a rock. You know what it wants to do. That's the consistency factor of it. You can throw it hard, holds the line, doesn't really taper, doesn't deviate. It's, you know, predictable, consistent, predictable, repetitive. That's what makes you shoot low scores.